Loki, Agent of Asgard. By 2014, Marvel decided it was time to give Loki his own headline. Not as a pure villain, but as a leading man with an agenda. Writer Al Ewing and artist Lee Garbett took the reins, with Loki operating as a secret agent for the All-Mother in exchange for wiping his old crimes from history. This was the older, sharper version of Kid Loki, with the personality dialed all the way up. Charming, manipulative, and sly enough to talk his way into or out of anything. From the start, the series leaned hard into Loki's identity as gender-fluid and pansexual, aligning with centuries of Norse myth while making space for modern representation. Ewing's scripts mixed espionage missions, cosmic politics, and time-bending schemes with a tone that was both playful and tragic. Loki faced his future self, King Loki, a bitter, destructive version of what he might become, forcing him into a redemption arc that was equal parts personal and epic. The series only ran for 17 issues, but it became a cult favorite. Fans praised Garbett's sleek visuals, the mix of high-stakes action and self-aware humor, and the way the book embraced queerness without tokenizing it. Sales were modest, yet the readership was fiercely loyal, dissecting every twist and cryptic prophecy. Elements of Agent of Asgard stuck around in Marvel's wider canon. The gender fluidity and mix of mischief with vulnerability carried into later comics and the MCU's Loki series. Even years after cancellation, the run is held up as proof that a woke reimagining can win fans over when it's built on solid storytelling, character depth, and respect for the source material. Miles Morales, Ultimate Spider-Man. In 2011, Marvel dropped a bombshell. In the Ultimate Universe, Peter Parker was gone, and a new kid, a half-black, half-Puerto Rican teenager named Miles Morales, was putting on the mask. Brian Michael Bendis teamed up with artist Sarah Pichelli to make it happen, and the debut lit up every corner of the comics world. Some readers were skeptical, others were instantly on board, but everyone was paying attention. Miles wasn't a carbon copy of Peter. His powers were a twist on the classic. Wall crawling and agility, sure, but also venom blasts and camo stealth. More importantly, his voice was his own. The book leaned into real family dynamics, with his cop father Jefferson and his mom Rio shaping who he was outside the costume. His best friend Genki became the hype man and confidant every superhero needs. Bendis built the run on heart. When Miles questioned whether he deserved to be Spider-Man, it didn't come from angst for angst's sake. It came from a real kid trying to live up to a fallen hero. The art matched that tone, with Pichelli's expressive faces and clean action giving the series a cinematic punch. The run found its audience quickly. Critics praised the authenticity of the dialogue and the fact that representation wasn't a gimmick. Miles felt like a fully realized person. By the end, he wasn't just the Ultimate Universe's Spider-Man. When that universe collapsed in 2015's Secret Wars, Marvel folded him into the main continuity. Miles has since become one of Marvel's most popular characters, starring in games, movies, and multiple solo series. Thor, Goddess of Thunder. When Marvel announced that Thor would no longer be worthy of Mjolnir, fans expected a familiar face to take over. Instead, writer Jason Aaron and artist Russell Dauterman handed the hammer to Jane Foster and dropped one of the boldest Marvel stories of the decade. Jane was already battling cancer, undergoing chemotherapy that weakened her body, while her time as Thor made her physically strong but burned away the progress of her treatments. Every transformation reset her illness, creating a devastating cost to her heroism. From the first issue, Aaron and Dauterman went big. Frost giants, gods, and cosmic threats crashed into the page while Jane navigated a new life, wielding power that many believed should only belong to the Odinson. The mystery of her identity drove early issues, with even readers kept in suspense until the dramatic reveal in Thor #8. The series hit fast with emotional weight and spectacle. Dauterman's clean, detailed line work and vibrant colors from Matthew Wilson gave Asgard a renewed energy. Jane's Thor wasn't a substitute. She was a fully formed hero with her own way of commanding the hammer, taking on enemies like Malekith and the Destroyer with relentless determination. Critics embraced the run, sales spiked, and trade collections stayed in demand. Fans connected with the human vulnerability Jane brought to a role traditionally filled by near-invincible gods. The story eventually fed into Marvel's War of the Realms crossover, and even inspired key elements in Thor, Love, and Thunder. By the time her tenure ended, Jane's time as Thor had cemented her place in Marvel history. The Immortal Hulk. In 2018, Marvel handed the Hulk to writer Al Ewing and artist Joe Bennett, and the result was a complete genre shift. Gone was the straightforward superhero smash. The Immortal Hulk brought horror back to the character in a way that felt unsettling. intimate and unforgettable. The hook was simple but chilling. Bruce Banner couldn't die. Any fatal injury would trigger the Hulk's return at nightfall, no matter how gruesome the cause. Ewing used that premise to explore themes rarely touched in mainstream superhero books: mortality, theology, abuse, and the fractured psychology of Banner himself. Each issue felt like an episode of a horror anthology, with distorted body transformations and surreal visuals pushing the comics code boundaries. Bennett's art was visceral, unflinching in its depiction of transformation scenes, and paired with vivid, almost sickly colors from Paul Mounts. The series didn't just lean on shock value. Major arcs like The Green Door tied Hulk's condition to a metaphysical plane of death, expanding the mythos in ways that felt both mythic and terrifying. Supporting characters like Jackie McGee and Doc Samson grounded the chaos with investigative and moral perspectives. Reception was immediate. Critics hailed the Immortal Hulk as one of Marvel's best ongoing titles of the era, and it consistently landed in the top-selling monthly comics. It won Eisner Awards, made best of lists, and brought lapsed Hulk fans back to the fold. By the time the run wrapped at issue number 50, it had completely redefined what a Hulk story could be. It was part superhero epic, part psychological horror, and part philosophical meditation, and it proved that even one of Marvel's oldest characters could still shock readers in the modern era. Young Avengers. When Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey relaunched Young Avengers in 2013, they reinvented how a Marvel team book could look and feel. The lineup was already unique: Wiccan, Hulkling, Kate Bishop, Loki, America Chavez, and Novar. Gillen wrote them like real young adults, sharp and self-aware, while McKelvey built the visual language of the series around bold layouts, innovative panel structures, and a vibrant color palette from Matthew Wilson. From the first issue, it moved like a pop song, fast, stylish, and catchy. Story arcs played with meta-commentary, bending comic book form without losing clarity. The threats were as strange as the presentation: dimension-hopping parasites disguised as loving parents, cosmic road trips, and battles that looked like music videos come to life. Representation wasn't an afterthought. LGBTQ+ characters and relationships were woven naturally into the core of the team. Hulkling and Wiccan's romance was central to the plot. America Chavez's queerness was simply part of who she was, and Loki's gender-fluid identity was acknowledged as casually as any other trait. Fans gravitated to the authenticity, and the series became a fixture in online fandom culture, fueling cosplay trends, fan art, and endless Tumblr gift sets. Though the run only lasted 15 issues, it left a heavy footprint. Critics praised it as one of Marvel's most stylish and inclusive books of the decade. Black Widow. In 2020, Kelly Thompson and artist Elena Casagrande launched a Black Widow run that immediately stood apart from previous Natasha Romanoff stories. The opening arc hit with a hook straight out of a psychological thriller. Natasha wakes up in San Francisco with no memory of her past life as a spy or Avenger. She's living peacefully with a fiancé and a young son, a fabricated life implanted by enemies to keep her off the board. The reveal hits hard. Once Natasha regains her memories, she's torn between returning to her old world and protecting the people she's grown to love. Thompson's writing balanced intense espionage sequences with emotional gut punches, while Casagrande's kinetic layouts turned hand-to-hand fights into some of the most fluid, cinematic action in modern Marvel comics. Colorist Jordi Belair gave the book a sleek, neon-infused palette that made every panel pop. The supporting cast, including Yelena Belova, Bucky Barnes, and Clint Barton, was used strategically, keeping the focus on Natasha's inner conflict. Later arcs expanded her rogues gallery, introduced new allies like Lucy Nguyen, and explored Natasha's role as a mentor without losing the espionage core. The series won the 2021 Eisner Award for Best New Series. Critics highlighted how it grounded Natasha's story in personal stakes while still delivering big Marvel spectacle. Fans praised the blend of spycraft, high-stakes action, and the raw vulnerability shown in Natasha's quieter moments. By its conclusion in 2022, Thompson and Casagrande's Black Widow had cemented itself as one of the character's definitive modern runs. A sharp, emotionally resonant series that proved Natasha's stories could be as layered and gripping as any of Marvel's top-tier titles. She-Hulk. When Marvel tapped Charles Soule to write She-Hulk in 2014, they were bringing in a practicing attorney with a background in litigation. That detail shaped the entire run. Soule built the series around Jennifer Walters' career as a lawyer, just as much as her adventures as She-Hulk giving. The courtroom scenes a level of accuracy and procedural realism rarely seen in superhero comics. Artist Javier Pulido matched that grounded approach with a clean, minimalist style that stood out in a market dominated by hyper-detailed action art. His panel layouts kept the the pacing brisk whether Jen was cross-examining a witness or punching through a wall. Colorist Munsa Vicente added bright, flat tones that gave the book a breezy, almost retro look, making it one of Marvel's most visually distinct titles of the decade. The story swung between quirky legal cases, like representing Captain America in a wrongful death suit, and more personal arcs that explored Jen's independence and moral compass. Soule leaned into She-Hulk's intelligence, humor, and confidence, portraying her as someone equally capable of dismantling an opponent in court or on the battlefield. Critics praised the series for its sharp dialogue, inventive premises, and refusal to sideline Jen's professional life. While sales weren't blockbuster level, the readership it built was passionate and vocal, keeping the trades in steady circulation. Though the run ended after 12 issues, it left a lasting mark on the character. Runaways. When Marvel brought Runaways back in 2017, they handed the keys to novelist Rainbow Rowell and artist Chris Anka, later joined by Andres Genele. The original Brian K. Vaughan run from the early 2000s had built a fiercely loyal fanbase, so reviving the title meant walking a tightrope, respecting the past while giving the series its own identity. Rowell opened with an emotional reunion. Nico Minoru, Carolina Dean, Chase Stein, Molly Hayes, and Gert Yorks were pulled back together under high-stakes circumstances, with Gert literally saved from the moment of her death in the original series. From there, the book shifted into a slower, more character-driven rhythm. The focus was on the group figuring out how to live together again after years apart, balancing heroics with messy relationships, unresolved grudges, and awkward growing pains. Anka's sleek designs gave the cast a modern, fashion-forward look, while Matthew Wilson's colors kept the tone warm and inviting. The series leaned into inclusive representation, from LGBTQ+ relationships to neurodiverse characters, without making those traits the sole focus of their arcs. Fans appreciated how Rowell understood the heart of Runaways. It's about found family as much as superpowers. The pacing allowed room for quiet moments, cooking breakfast, decorating their hideout, or navigating romantic tension, alongside bigger Marvel Universe cameos and threats. Running for 38 issues, this was the longest continuous Runaways series since the original, and it pulled in a steady YA audience through digital platforms and trade collections. XMen Red. In early 2018, Marvel brought Jean Grey back from the dead and immediately handed her leadership of an entirely new squad in XMen Red. Writer Tom Taylor and artist Mahmoud Asrar built the series around a bold mission: push mutant kind toward peace through diplomacy rather than constant warfare. It was a sharp pivot from the usual fight the next villain formula, framing Jean not just as a powerhouse telepath, but as a stateswoman. The roster blended familiar faces and unexpected picks: Nightcrawler, Namor, Gentle, Trinary, Gabby Kinney, and Laura Kinney as Wolverine. Their first major challenge came from Cassandra Nova, who launched a propaganda war designed to make the world fear mutants even more. The team's battles were about winning public trust, dismantling lies, and surviving assassination attempts from every direction. Asrar's clean, dynamic art gave the action weight, while colorist Rain Barreto brought a sleek, high-contrast palette that kept the visuals sharp. Taylor used each issue to balance tense diplomatic exchanges with kinetic fight sequences, showing that the two could carry equal stakes. Readers connected with the hopeful tone. In a period when X-Men comics were often focused on survival against extinction, XMen Red presented a vision of proactive leadership and unity. Jean's speeches, her ability to inspire loyalty, and the chemistry between team members became talking points in fan circles. Though short-lived, it carved out a distinctive place in X-Men history as one of the rare series where mutant politics took center stage without sidelining superhero spectacle. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. In 2016, Marvel introduced a duo no one saw coming: a 9-year-old genius named Lunella Lafayette and a time-displaced bright red Tyrannosaurus Rex. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, written by Amy Reeder and Brandon Montclair with art by Natasha Bustos, was an all-ages adventure that still fit comfortably in the Marvel universe. Lunella was officially declared the smartest character in Marvel continuity, outpacing Reed Richards and Tony Stark. Living in the Lower East Side, she balanced school life with wild escapades involving alien invasions, mad scientists, and the occasional citywide rampage caused by her oversized partner. The Devil Dinosaur bond with Lunella became the emotional core of the series, with the two communicating in a mix of roars, gestures, and pure loyalty. Bustos' art gave the series its signature energy: clean lines, expressive characters, and bright, bold colors that made every page pop. The storytelling embraced Lunella's problem-solving over brute force, often showing her outthinking enemies rather than overpowering them. The book connected with readers far beyond the usual superhero crowd. Schools in and libraries embraced it, helping it reach young readers who might not have picked up a Marvel comic before. Lunella's adventures earned Eisner nominations, and the character's popularity eventually led to her own Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur animated series on Disney Channel, introducing her to an even wider audience. And that's it. So now to you, if you could hand the creative reins of Marvel to any writer or artist for 1 year, knowing they could completely reinvent a beloved character, who would you choose? And which hero would you risk changing forever? Share your thoughts in the comments section below, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this one.